These days, someone died for a political opinion. Not in a war zone, not in a dictatorship, right here in our so-called civilized world. But here's what's truly terrifying. It wasn't the first time this week. Right now, as you're watching this, someone is typing a comment so filled with hatred that they've forgotten the person on the other side is human. Someone is cutting ties with family members over political disagreements. Someone is justifying violence because they deserve it. And you know what the most chilling part is? Hannah Arendt predicted this exact moment in 1951. She watched ordinary people transform into killers. She documented how democracy dies not with bombs, but with minds that stop thinking. But here's the question that should keep you awake tonight. How do you know your mind hasn't already been weaponized? In the next 9 minutes, you're going to discover something that will either save your humanity or confirm you've already lost it. The choice is yours. But the clock is ticking, because the next victim of political violence might be someone you love. Hannah Arendt wasn't just any philosopher. She was a refugee who escaped Nazi Germany with nothing but her intellect and a terrifying understanding of how quickly civilization can collapse. While others saw Hitler as a madman, she saw something far more disturbing, a system that turned ordinary people into willing participants in evil. But here's what makes her work absolutely chilling for us today. Arendt discovered that evil doesn't need monsters. It doesn't need psychopaths or sadists. Evil just needs people who stop thinking for themselves, people who surrender their individual judgment to the group, people who become what she called thoughtless. Sound familiar? When was the last time you questioned your own political beliefs? When did you last have a genuine conversation with someone from the opposite side without trying to win or prove them wrong? If you're struggling to answer these questions, you're already experiencing what Arendt warned us about. She wrote about something called the banality of evil. The idea that the most dangerous people aren't the obvious villains, but the bureaucrats, the followers, the people who just go along with whatever their tribe tells them, the people who stop asking, "Is this right?" and start asking, "Is this what my side wants?" And here's the terrifying part. She was describing exactly what we see today, in our social media feeds, in our family dinners, in our streets. The same psychological mechanisms that enabled totalitarian regimes are now playing out in real time, right in front of us. But what she discovered about human nature, about your nature, is going to shock you even more. Your brain is being hijacked right now, and you don't even know it. Arendt identified a psychological virus that spreads faster than any pandemic, and it's already infected millions of minds around the world. Here's how it works. Stage 1. Isolation. You start consuming information only from sources that confirm what you already believe. Your social media algorithm feeds you more of the same. Your friends share articles that make you nod in agreement. Slowly, you lose contact with different perspectives. You think you're staying informed, but you're actually building a mental prison. Stage 2. Tribalism. You stop seeing yourself as an individual with complex thoughts and start identifying completely with your political group. Their victories become your victories. Their enemies become your enemies. You begin to feel personal pain when your side loses and personal joy when the other side suffers. Your identity merges with your ideology. Stage 3. Dehumanization. This is where it gets dangerous. People who disagree with you stop being fellow humans with different experiences and become threats to be eliminated. You start using language like, "They're destroying our country," or "They're evil," or "They're not real Americans." You justify hatred because you're fighting for something bigger than yourself. Stage 4. Violence. And this is where people die. Because once you've dehumanized someone, hurting them feels not just acceptable but necessary, righteous even. If you recognize yourself in any of these stages, hit that like button right now. Not because you agree with me, but because you're brave enough to examine your own mind. And subscribe to this channel if you want to keep questioning everything, including your own beliefs. But here's what Arendt understood that most people miss. You didn't choose this process. It chose you. Your brain is designed to seek belonging and certainty. Political movements exploit these natural human needs and turn them into weapons against your own humanity. The question is, are you strong enough to fight back? In 1961, Stanley Milgram conducted an experiment that revealed something horrifying about human nature. He asked ordinary people to deliver electric shocks to strangers, increasing the voltage each time. The shocks weren't real, but the participants didn't know that. They believed they were causing real pain, possibly even death. How many people do you think refused to continue when they heard screaming from the other room? Take a guess. 10%? 20%? Try 65%. 65% of ordinary, decent people were willing to deliver potentially lethal shocks simply because an authority figure told them to. But here's what connects this to our political moment. Those people weren't evil. They were teachers, engineers, salespeople. People just like you. People who loved their families, helped their neighbors, considered themselves good. Yet when placed in the right psychological conditions, they became willing participants in what they believed was torture. Arendt saw this same pattern in Nazi Germany. The bureaucrats who organized the Holocaust weren't monsters. They were ordinary people who had surrendered their individual moral judgment to the authority of the state. They stopped thinking for themselves and started following orders. Now ask yourself this: what orders are you following right now? When your political leaders tell you that the other side is dangerous, do you question that claim? When your social media feed tells you to be outraged about something, do you pause and ask if that outrage is justified? When your tribe tells you that violence is necessary to protect democracy, do you think for yourself? The person who committed political violence yesterday wasn't born evil. 5 years ago, they probably seemed normal. They had friends, maybe a family, probably considered themselves patriotic and moral. But somewhere along the way, they stopped thinking and started obeying. They surrendered their humanity to their ideology. And here's the question that should terrify you. How many of your political beliefs did you actually choose versus absorb from your environment? How do you know you're not already in Milgram's laboratory, just waiting for someone to tell you to press the next button? Arendt identified 3 unmistakable symptoms that show when someone has lost their humanity to political extremism. Check yourself against these warning signs and be honest about what you find. Symptom 1. You can no longer have genuine conversations with people from the other side. Not debates where you try to win, but actual conversations where you listen to understand. When someone mentions they voted differently than you, do you immediately feel anger? Do you assume they're stupid, evil, or brainwashed? If political disagreement triggers immediate emotional rejection, your capacity for human connection is already damaged. Think about this. When did you last change your mind about anything political based on new information? When did you last admit you were wrong about something your side believes? If you can't remember, you've stopped thinking and started following. Symptom 2. You feel genuine pleasure when bad things happen to people on the other side. When their leaders get sick, when their businesses fail, when they lose elections, do you feel a warm satisfaction? Do you share memes mocking their pain? This isn't political engagement anymore. It's sadism dressed up as righteousness. Arendt called this the corruption of human empathy. When you can celebrate another person's suffering because of their political beliefs, you've crossed a line that separates humans from monsters. You've become what she feared most. Someone who has surrendered their individual moral compass to group hatred. Symptom 3. You justify violence or cruelty because it serves the greater good. Maybe you don't personally commit violence, but you understand why others do. Maybe you think some people deserve to be silenced, fired, or hurt because their ideas are dangerous. Maybe you believe that normal moral rules don't apply when fighting for your cause. This is exactly how ordinary Germans justified the Holocaust. This is how ordinary people in every genocide convinced themselves that cruelty was necessary. They didn't see themselves as evil. They saw themselves as heroes fighting for something bigger than individual human dignity. If you recognized yourself in any of these symptoms, don't despair. Recognition is the first step back to humanity. But if you felt defensive, if you immediately started thinking of ways these symptoms apply to the other side but not to you, then you're deeper in the psychological trap than you realize. The question is, do you have the courage to climb out? Hannah Arendt didn't just diagnose the disease, she prescribed the cure. But warning, this medicine tastes bitter, and most people refuse to take it because it requires something our political culture has trained us to avoid: genuine intellectual humility. Medicine 1. Reclaim the power of independent thought. Arendt believed that thinking was the most radical act a human being could perform. Not having opinions, not choosing sides, but actually thinking. This means questioning everything, especially the beliefs that feel most obvious to you. Start with this exercise. Take your strongest political conviction and spend 1 hour genuinely trying to understand the best arguments against it. Not to debunk them, but to understand them. Most people can't do this. Their identity is so wrapped up in their political beliefs that questioning them feels like psychological death. But this is exactly what Arendt meant by thoughtlessness, the surrender of individual judgment to group consensus. Medicine 2. Develop the courage to disagree with your own side. This is perhaps the hardest thing Arendt asks of us. It's easy to criticize your political enemies. It takes real moral courage to call out your allies when they go too far. When your side justifies something you know is wrong, speak up. When your tribe demands loyalty over truth, choose truth. The moment you become unable to criticize your own side, you've stopped being a thinking individual and become a political automaton. You've joined what Arendt called the mob, people who have surrendered their individual conscience to group identity. Medicine 3. Practice what Arendt called plurality, the recognition that other people have fundamentally different experiences and perspectives that are valid even when they contradict your own. This doesn't mean all opinions are equally true, but it means other people aren't automatically evil or stupid for seeing the world differently than you do. Here's a practical exercise that will change your life. Find someone who voted opposite to you in the last election and ask them to explain their reasoning. Don't argue. Don't fact-check them in real time. Just listen. Try to understand how a reasonable person could reach different conclusions than you did. If you find this exercise impossible, if the very thought of it makes you angry, then you've already lost your humanity to politics. But if you're willing to try it, if you can remember that your political opponents are human beings with their own fears, hopes, and experiences, then there's still hope for you. The antidote to political extremism isn't finding the right ideology. It's remembering how to think for yourself and see others as fully human. But are you brave enough to take this medicine? We've reached the moment of truth. Right now, in this exact second, you are making the most important choice of your life. You are choosing whether to remain human or become a political weapon. There is no middle ground. There is no neutral position. Your silence is a choice. Your inaction is a choice. Hannah Arendt witnessed the collapse of civilization once before. She watched as ordinary people just like you, surrendered their humanity piece by piece until they became capable of unspeakable evil. She saw neighbors turn against neighbors, friends betray friends, families destroy themselves over ideology. And she wrote about it so that future generations, so that you would recognize the warning signs and choose differently. But here we are, making the exact same mistakes. The same psychological mechanisms that enabled the Holocaust are playing out right now in our politics, our social media, our dinner tables. The only difference is the scale and the speed. We're not loading people into cattle cars yet, but we're already loading them into categories: enemy, threat, subhuman. And you know what the most tragic part is? Most people think they're the heroes of this story. The person who committed political violence yesterday thought they were saving democracy. The people justifying hatred think they're protecting their children's future. The people cutting off family members think they're taking a moral stand. This is exactly what Arendt warned us about. Evil that doesn't recognize itself as evil. Cruelty that believes it's righteousness. Hatred that thinks it's love. So here's your choice, and you have to make it right now. You can continue down the path you're on, consuming political content that makes you angry, surrounding yourself with people who confirm your biases, treating your political opponents as enemies to be defeated rather than humans to be understood. You can keep feeding the virus that's eating away at your capacity for empathy, for nuance, for genuine human connection, or you can choose something harder. You can choose to think for yourself. You can choose to see complexity where others see simplicity. You can choose to remain human in a world that's trying to turn you into a political zombie. Here's my challenge to you. For the next week, consume no political content whatsoever. No news, no social media, no podcasts, no conversations about politics. Use that time to remember who you are beyond your political identity. Reconnect with the parts of yourself that exist outside of ideology. And when you come back, ask yourself this question: what kind of person do I want to be? Someone who thinks for themselves or someone who lets others think for them? Someone who sees nuance or someone who sees only enemies? Someone who chooses love or someone who chooses hatred? If this message resonated with you, if you made it this far, write the word human in the comments below. Show me that you're choosing to remain human in a world that's trying to turn you into something else. You've just spent 9 minutes confronting some of the hardest truths about human nature and political extremism. That takes courage. That takes intellectual honesty. That takes the kind of thinking Arendt believed could save us all. The future of democracy, the future of human dignity, the future of civilization itself depends on people like you making the right choice. Hannah Arendt gave us the roadmap. The question is, are you brave enough to follow it? The clock is still ticking, but now you know what time it is.